Welcome to the Picture This podcast. I'm your host Cam, and in this show we'll be talking about the creative world of photography and videography and the secrets to running a wildly successful photography business. Let's get it. Welcome back. I feel like Mace with that one actually. So guys, welcome back to the show. Wow, this was going to be about how I got into photography. I really enjoy photography, and I'm glad that I'm able to be in this space. But like the story of how I got into photography, it's been a long one. So let's see if I could bring you guys back down this rabbit hole. I don't remember the dates. I can't tell you like dates, but I'm just gonna give you the story. So pretty much, I went to the States, and so basically I wanted to get into photography, and I bought like a really like shitty camera, or I had a shitty camera, and I was using it to do photo shoots in my basement. And then I went to the States to go see my aunt, and she said, okay, well, here you can have this other camera. So she gave me a camera that she didn't really need. It was actually a better camera than the one I had. So I took that back home with me, and I was using that camera to like do my photo shoots. And then I realized like I needed to get like a better camera, something that was like a DSLR, because I knew I needed a DSLR to get the shots that I needed. So I went and I got a Fuji DSLR camera. I should probably I'll probably throw it up, but I got a Fuji camera. It was like a Fuji DSLR type camera. The front of it had like a lens that you could zoom in, zoom out, but you couldn't take it off. So it looked like a lens you could take off, but you couldn't actually take it off. You couldn't put a flash on the top. And I recognized, crap, I'm doing a good job with this camera, because I was using it to take photos. And then I got there's these guys, what are they called again? They I can't remember their name, but pretty much they ran this event where they're washing cars and they need a photographer. I reached out to them saying, hey guys, I'd love to do some photography for you for this event. And they're like, sure, why not? We'll get you to come by. I was doing their events. I made call it just a bit under $1,000 for working with them. And then I got a job. It was actually interesting. So mind you, I still didn't have my camera that I needed yet, right? But I was literally in the transitional part where I was transitioning from the Fuji camera to my D80. Yeah, it was the D80. And so I went and purchased the D80. Then I was doing some photos for one of my friends. They worked at Black Cap, which is like it's this place where they talk about like prophylactics and how to have safe sex and whatever the case is. And so they would go to different locations, like businesses, and hand them out. And so they needed photography. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll go take the pictures for you guys. So we went to a club, and it was 7 Lounge. And I said, hey, if you guys ever need any photography done, I'm definitely available to shoot for you guys, on the weekends or whatever. The manager took me up on that offer and said, hey, you know what? You're going to be our full-time photographer. So that was my first gig doing photography full-time. And that year, how much did I make that year? I can't remember. I know that I don't even remember the exact amount, but I knew that the first year I made about like just under $1,000. The next year, I think maybe it was like $3,000 for the next year, something around there. So $3,000 for the next year, let's just say. And I was doing the photography there at the club, and then I would get like one-off bookings here and there. And there was this one time where I got 5 bookings back to back to back, and I tapped in, and I got other photographers to come out and shoot with me. So I was shooting one booking. I had another booking by another photographer had another booking. And then I was like, I'll go. I basically shot 2 bookings in one night. So I went to the first club, and I got there early, and I took a bunch of photos. Then I said, oh, hey, I've got to leave and go pick up something real quick. Can I just come back? They're like, sure. So I left from that club, went to the next club, and I shot from like, so remember, I shot the first club from like 10 to like 11:30, then 11:30 at the other club till like 2:30, and then I came back and I shot from 2 to 3 at the other club. So then that's 2 locations one night. Then I left from that club because there's still a 5th one. Left from that club and I went over to the next club that my other photographer was at. Went in there, shot some more, and then called it a night. Delivered everything to everyone. They were all happy. Photographers got paid. Like, it all worked out. But that's when I realized the power of like working with other people, like how beneficial it was. And I tried to tap into this. I tried to create an online platform called Photocon. The address is probably still up and running, but it's like photocon.com. So PHOTOCONN.com or .ca, one of those. And it'd be a platform where you can go and book photographers. If it's not up, well, womp. But it was a place where you can go and book photographers and they could come out and cover your bookings and whatnot. But it was ahead of its time. The idea was a dope idea. I think it was just way too ahead of its time. And I just didn't have enough experience with like these kind of platforms and how to manage them and put them together and make them work. So it didn't work out. So at this point in time, I'm now doing events for my girlfriend and her friends, and I'm shooting that stuff, and I'm doing well. And yeah, I'm tapping to the African community. I really was enjoying this part of life, just going to these different events, tapping to different cultures. It was definitely great. And then what happened? I went on vacation. I went to Cuba for vacation, and this is when I was working my part-time job. So let's just take a step back. So at this point in time, I'm doing photography and I have a part-time job at Stitches. So I was relying mainly on my Stitches income. All my photography income was just sitting down doing nothing. It was just sitting there. I wasn't touching it. It was just sitting there. And so I was relying on my Stitches income to do kind of everything else. Live, travel, movies, entertainment, all the other stuff. So that was my Stitches income. And so I went on vacation. And I came back and I went to my workplace and I said, hey, what are the hours saying this week? Because I'm back. And they're like, oh, there's no hours this week. Maybe next week. I said, okay, cool. So I waited. Then next week came. I said, hey, what are the hours saying this week? And they're like, oh, there's no hours this week. I'm like, how there's no hours like 2 weeks in a row? It makes no sense. I reached out to some of my staff members that like worked with me or whatever, employees that work with me. And they were like, literally all the black employees, if you were black, if you were brown, whatever, they were all getting like pushed to the side because they hired a whole bunch of Filipino workers and they were paying like half the amount of money that they were paying us. So they're like, okay, well, let's get rid of them. Let's hire all the Filipino people there and call the day. So everyone that was working literally was getting no hours. And so like, if I'm actually glad that all this happened, because if it didn't happen, I'd probably still be working there now. You're like, what? Why does that? It doesn't make any sense. But I like to I'm there for the long run. I'm not there for the short term. I'm there for the long run. If you meet me and we connect, we're going to be friends for life. I don't look to have a friend for this week and then we're no longer friends. Like, I want friends for life. I want someone or people in my life that I know that they're going to be there years from now. It's not just that, but it's about everything I do with photography. Mind you, I started doing photography back then. It's been like over 15 years now that I've been doing photography. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not working at Stitches anymore because I'm not really there. And so I'm like, I'm not going to quit. So I don't quit. But eventually over time, since I wasn't working there for the longest, they're like, well, at this point in time, you're not like fired, but we're like, here's some money for your, like, I got my vacation people, here's some money, like I'm not like a severance package. I don't even know what it was, but I got money. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And so, I was just putting all my energy into photography because I'm like, I believe in this. I know I'm going to do well with this. And so my girl at the time was like, oh, you should, since you bought your camera, and you're not working your 9 to 5 anymore and you're doing photography, you need to really take this seriously. And I was like, yeah. And I literally started to push, hustle. I was literally raising a baby, which is the brand T.Pics, but it wasn't always T.Pics. Funny enough, it was called ccdesignlive.com. That was the name from before. I still have that address. And really what it meant was Cam Designs Live. And the reason why I used live is because I used to build websites and I'd use Flash, and Flash felt live to me, like it was alive. It wasn't dead. It was just alive. So I'd always build websites. And so I'd do website development, graphic design, photography, And then I picked up videography along the way, which was just horrible at the very beginning. Oh my gosh. I wish I had a videography mentor, because my videography was so bad. But you need to go through that to get on the other end to deliver what I deliver now. And I'm happy about that. So back to my story. So take it seriously. I'm doing bookings, traveling different places, meeting new people. Someone reached out to me and said, hey, you know what you should do? There's a guy that has this sort of name here. Maybe you should have a name similar to like where you live. And I'm like, that's so true. So that's where TDOTPICS became like, the birth of TDOTPICS literally came at that point in time. Transitioned over a lot of my stuff. Instead of me doing more website development, I stepped away from that. I made that more personal. So I was building websites and stuff for myself, and then focus on photography and videography for my clients. It literally took off. And when I say took off, I mean it took years. I had to dedicate so many hours traveling to bookings, shooting, dealing with customers who didn't want to pay, or even if they wanted to pay, they were taking forever to pay. There was so much bull that I went through this entire process, and I realistically wouldn't change it for the world. It was like the best thing to ever happen. And the reason why is because it made me who I am today. I've worked with the likes of Drake, Bow Wow. I've shot at the Lupe Fiasco concerts. I've worked with BMO. Who else? There's so many people that I've worked with. Kiv Davis, Johnny Rocks. Like, there's so many people that I've worked with over the years, and it was a pleasure working with and for them. I remember I met this is like, while I'm already doing my thing, I'm crushing it. And I met this Asian guy because I was looking to get someone that can like work with me on bookings. Like, you know, I was getting a lot of bookings. I want to like send people out. And so I connected with this Asian guy named Kane, and I was like, hey, I'd like to like, you know, work with you and shoot some like content, and, you know, whatever the case is, and have you go out and do bookings for me and stuff. And mind you, here he already had a camera, so he understands how to use a camera. So I'm like, all right, cool. If I could just give you a flash and give you these other things, you can go and do some stuff and get paid. So I would send him out, and so we connected, right? Him and I connected, and before I got to the part where I sent him out to do any bookings, we connected, and he introduced me to his friend Ricky. I'm like, okay, cool. So there's Kane and there's Ricky, and I'm like, okay, there's like two Asian guys, cool, dope, you know, young, but like they can grow. There's room for them to grow. I started talking with them both, and then we shot a music video. It's just like, wow. I'll probably like link it or something, but it's a music video that we shot, and I was just like, because I used to rap back in the day, so I'm like, let me shoot a music video, see how these guys are, see if we can work together, yada yada. So we shoot a music video, cool. And then so I have a booking. I send Kane to do a booking, and I guess he does a booking, but he does like a crappy job at the booking. I gotta like patch it up and make it work. The client's happy. I guess both their parents were like, oh, why are you working with this black guy for da 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 da? And then Kane's like, yeah, I can't work with you anymore. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Ricky was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna work with you. Like, we're gonna make it work. And so we actually I skipped one story. It was the one where Ricky and Kane came with me to an event that my friend threw. Was a pool party with like girls half naked, water, and like music blaring for the entire night. Just lots of fun, but it was amazing. Anyway, so that was like one of the coolest events, working with them at that. But then later on now, where Kane is no longer working with me, it's just me and Ricky are working together. I start training Ricky. I'm trying to show him like the ropes, you know, how to do this, how to do that, like get it in camera before, like forget about trying to work on it later on. Get it in camera. Make sure it's perfect in camera, right? Like I taught him like, yo, shoot JPEG, don't shoot RAW. When you shoot RAW, you get lazy. And when you shoot JPEG, you need to make it perfect every single time. So like shoot JPEG. And this is what I was doing for all these years. Part of the reason why I even shot JPEG is because I didn't really understand RAW too much. I knew that you could get back all the detail in X, Y, Z, but I needed to shoot JPEG because I can deliver things a lot faster. And so that was my framework, and I taught him so much, and he soaked it up like a sponge. We worked together on countless projects. I was able to be out of the country. He was able to do projects, and then when I came back in, I dealt with him. He got paid proper. It was good. And then I think I wasn't as busy as I wanted to be, and so he decided to like go and start his own thing, and that's how RY Media started. So that's another story for another day. So let me continue with my story though. So, so I'm doing my photography still connecting, still networking, still doing lots of projects, working with, different people, crushing it. And that's actually, when you think about it, that's pretty much where it is right now. That is the beginning of TDOTPICS. And, what's the future? I'm not entirely sure what the future holds, but I would like to say that the future is still doing. Oh no, this is not where the story ends. This is only this is the middle to end, actually, when I think about it. So remember I said Ricky's story is another story for another time? Okay, before we go any further, I got to touch base on that real quick. So because I taught Ricky and he was crushing it, years later, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, Cam." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "I have a client that needs photography and videography for their wedding. Are you down to shoot it?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So the price point wasn't where it was supposed to be. Like, it was, someone fumbled, it didn't work out, things were whatever. So the price point wasn't where it's supposed to be, but it's okay. We made it work. I delivered one of my very best videos for that project of all time. I think that was one of the best videos. That video, plus the skills of our photography and videography, literally landed us 18 weddings that year. And then the year after, another 18 weddings. And then it would have been more weddings, but the pandemic hit. So that cut some stuff and pushed things around. We had destination weddings lined up. But, that didn't work out. And yeah, like, it's been, now I can say that that's the end of it. Not, we're still doing weddings. He and I still do our thing separately, but we come together and we crush it for weddings. The brides and grooms love our work, and I have testimonials to prove it. Let's get it. So, speaking of that, I got to reach out to a bride and groom today. But yeah, it's been fantastic. Just being a photographer, I love it, and I literally wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. What is the future for TDOTPICS? I think the future is this podcast. Number one, courses where I'm teaching more content about photography and videography. I definitely want to do that. Speaking of that, this is our sponsor for today. Today's sponsor is Six Figure Photo Biz. So I've created an online course that gives you a decade of all of my skills so you can learn how to run your business and take your photography to the next level. For more information, click the link below or the link in the bio. Let's get it. All right, so that's our sponsor for today. So back to what I was trying to say. So I want to launch more courses so I can teach people more about photography. I also want to do some stuff in investments because I remember asking a few photographers, like, "Hey, are you doing anything outside of photography?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "What? The living?" Like, there needs to be some other side to this. You can't do photography for the rest of your life. You're going to get to a point in time where you're not able to, stand up as long as you want to, run around like you want to, because you got other obligations. Like, you're gonna be tired. Your body's gonna be falling apart at some point in time. So, like, are you gonna do photography your entire life? I mean, you can slow it down. I think investing is that next thing, right? Where you can let the money you've worked or you've earned with photography actually work for you. And I think that makes sense. That's something that needs to happen, right? And so photographers need to look into this. They need to start tapping into all different sorts of investments. So that's something I do want to, I may want to put out something on investments, maybe like an ebook or something I don't even know. I don't want to put a price point on it, but something very, very cheap that photographers buy and understand and then use towards making some passive income for themselves. Because that is definitely needed. Because how's it go again? I think Warren Buffett says that if you aren't making money while you're sleeping, then you're going to work for the rest of your life. And, so that's something that people need to look into. Now you guys understand my story. There's probably a bit more things that I could have spoken about, like when I worked at Stitches, just the different managers that I had to deal with, the long hours. Was it worth it? I hated going to Stitches. It was just the worst thing ever. There's so much things. Even when you're in a relationship and you're starting a brand new business, it is extremely hard because you need to divide your time between the person you want to be with and your work. And you know that if your work is your baby and if you don't nurture your baby, you won't grow. I've mentioned this in another podcast that there are lonely times. Being a creative, it's super lonely. You don't get the ability to not be lonely because of just how it is. It's just you're stuck in this no one understands what you have to do to deliver every single day, and you can get into a bit of a zone where you're just you feel alone, but you're not alone. You just need to connect with other creatives that are doing what you do. And I'm hoping that this podcast can tap into those creatives and show you guys that, hey, there's not just one way of doing it. There's several ways of doing it. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you should always try to find that community so you can tap into, because that will help you and your mental health 100%. I want to provide you guys with value and knowledge and grow your business. So this is the stepping stone for that. It's better for you. You know what I mean? Why not? All right. You have to know your history before you can know your future, right? So with that being said, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. I appreciate every single one of you, and we're on YouTube. So please make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and leave a comment and let me know, number one, how did you guys start photography? And then number two is, how many years have you been doing photography? Guys, thank you for listening. If you're on Instagram, please make sure you follow us on TDOTPICS, that's TDOTPICS, and Picture This PC, that's Picture This PC on Instagram. Thank you all for listening. Let's get it.